Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing one of the biggest problems that's really causing Muslims to fail at learning the Arabic language, which is either the absence of a teacher or the absence of a competent teacher. And I'm going to prove to you, inshallah ta'ala, through the examples of the scholars that came before us, that by you having the right competent teacher, it will be the difference between you not knowing the language and learning the language and actually mastering it. But before I go into that, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Sa'ad, and I've been studying the Arabic language for over a decade now. And my passion is to teach the Arabic language with the hope and the aim that I can help 1,000 Muslims master the Arabic language so that they can go further and teach others about the Arabic language as well and reconnect them to Islamic knowledge, because Islamic knowledge is not really accessible properly except through the Arabic language. Once you learn the Arabic language, you can access the Quran, you can access the Sunnah, you can access scholars, you can access the Islamic literature, which is very rich in the Arabic language, but not so much in other languages. Now, let's talk about the issue of teachers. The first thing that we need to discuss is there a need for teachers? Is there a need for us to have teachers to learn the Arabic language? And the answer to that is very simple, which is yes. But now let me explain why. Number one, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our role model, and he is the greatest role model. He is the best man to have ever walked upon this earth. And we know from his life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that number one, he had a teacher. Yes, of course, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did have a teacher, and his teacher was Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam would come down with the wahi, with the revelation, and he would give it to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, but he would teach it to him. He would teach it. And not just that, other things. For example, the famous hadith of Jibreel. The famous hadith of Jibreel when he came down in the form of a man and he asked the Prophet ﷺ certain questions. Okay, and those questions the Prophet would answer in order for the people, the Sahabas, to learn. This is Jibreel teaching the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahabas. And so the greatest man that ever walked upon this earth had a teacher. He had a teacher to help him and guide him and take him through this process within this life. And very similarly, the Prophet ﷺ, he taught the Sahabas. He taught them. And the Sahabas, they taught their students. And that line of teaching has carried on ever since then. And in fact, if you look at every single scholar in Islam that ever mastered a science, they always had teachers. They always had somebody that was helping them, guiding them, mentoring them, taking them on this path and teaching them. And that's what led to them achieving and mastering the things that they were trying to master. I want to mention to you a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where the Prophet once addressed the companions, and the hadith is narrated in Sunan Abi Dawood, where he told the companions, he said, "Tasma'una." The word tasma'una basically means you will hear. You will hear, as in you will hear from your ears. What is the Prophet referring to? He's talking to the companions, telling them, Tasma'una, you're going to hear this knowledge from me. I'm passing this knowledge on to you. You're hearing it from me. Tasma'una, you're going to hear it from me. And then the Prophet said, وَيُسْمَعُ مِنْكُمْ, and the knowledge is going to be heard from you, meaning there are people that you're going to teach and they're going to hear it from you. And then the Prophet said, وَيُسْمَعُ مِمَّنْ سَمِعَ مِنْكُمْ, and the people that you taught, that heard from you, they are also going to be heard by people as well, meaning they are going to teach others as well. And in fact, what the Prophet is teaching us is that this is how knowledge is being passed down. I, as the Prophet ﷺ, he's saying that I am teaching you, and you are hearing this knowledge from me as your teacher, and then you will become teachers and you will teach it onto others, and then they will become teachers and they will teach it onto others until that chain carries on. And what's very interesting is the fact that the Prophet ﷺ used the word sam' when he said tasma'una wa yusma'u minkum wa yusma'u mimman sami'a minkum. The usage of the word sam', meaning you will hear, and the people will hear from you, and the people will hear from those people that heard from you. That shows to us that when they learn, when they are learning and they're being educated, they are taking it directly from someone's mouth, meaning they're being taught. Someone is speaking and they are hearing that knowledge. They are hearing that knowledge, and that is how they are learning. And that is us basically being taught by the Prophet ﷺ that there is a need for teachers to pass the knowledge on to students. Teachers passing the knowledge on to students. The Prophet ﷺ had a teacher, the Sahabas had teachers, the greatest scholars of Islam had teachers. Hatta if you look at the story of Musa ﷺ in Surah Al-Kahf, you will find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa to go to Khadir, to go to him and seek knowledge from him and learn from him and be educated by him. Musa was already a prophet. Musa already had knowledge, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that there is a man that has knowledge which you don't have. There is knowledge that he has and you don't have it, O Musa. And so go to him. And so Musa alayhi salam had a teacher that helped him and educated him and taught him certain things. And so should we have teachers? The answer to that question is that is how we learn. That is how we learn. We learn through having teachers. Number two, the greatest of people that have ever walked upon this earth, starting from the Anbiya, the prophets, they all had teachers. The need for a teacher is most definitely there. If people that came before us and they were better than us and they had teachers, then what does that show about ourselves, where we are not as great as they are and we are not as pure as they are, and we are not as smart as they are? Would we need teachers? Of course we would. In everything that we learn and everything that we want to educate ourselves on, we would need teachers. The second thing that we're going to discuss is what is so good about teachers. What is it that we benefit from having teachers? Okay, we understand the prophets had teachers, people have teachers, but what's the real benefit that we get from having a teacher, especially when we're trying to learn the Arabic language? Well, let me give you guys a list. I'm going to read a list that I have here on my screen right now to show to you all the benefits that a person can get from having a teacher. You have to first and foremost remember that when you have a teacher, you have someone that you're learning from that has already walked the path of what you're trying to get. They've already treaded on this path. They took it. And now you want to take this path. And so it makes sense that if you want to take this path, then you take it from the one that knows how to do it, because not only will they tell you the best route to take, but they will also help you avoid a lot of the traps and the wrong turns that you might take on this path that might waste your time. They've already taken that journey, and so now they're going to make it easier for you. But just to list some of the benefits that you get from having a teacher: number one, you get guidance. They will help you in what to do, where to go, give you direction in the things that you need to do. They will bring onto you knowledge. The very thing that you're seeking, they will actually be able to give it to you. And they will show you how you can have mastery and expertise within this if you carried on the route of studying and educating yourself on that particular thing and that particular science. You will get personalized feedback. They will help you. They'll look at you. They'll ask you questions. Say, what are you doing? Why are you not memorizing? Why are you doing it like this? You get personalized feedback from them. Motivation. Teachers encourage their students when they see that the student's not doing good, when they see that the student is not doing as good as they should, when they know that the student might be going through a hard time, maybe they've got some problems in life, whatever. They will help them by motivating them and helping them get through these problems so they can continue studying. Not only that, when you have a teacher, the teacher will open the doors for you to also meet other teachers as well. And if not other teachers, then other students as well. You build a connection of other people that are educated or have educated themselves or are trying to educate themselves on this particular path, which helps a person from not feeling that I'm alone in this path, but there are more people that are here and there are more people that have treaded on this path, which means that I can inshallah also come to the end of this path as well. Your teacher will help you in terms of developing certain skills, in terms of having discipline when it comes to studying, learning how to memorize, learning how to stay focused. These are all things scholars of Islam, they benefited from their teachers. You also learn, mannerisms from them as well. There is so much that a person gets, the constant support and encouragement. These are the things that teachers, they help you. And by the end of it, you eventually achieve your goal. Don't consider your teacher as the way we would, for example, in school, where a person comes in, writes on a whiteboard and teaches you, and that's it. Your teacher is meant to be like your mentor. It's meant to be someone that cultivates you and helps you and aids you throughout the entirety of your process. You will find that when you used to go to school, the teacher that was always in your case, the one that was always worried about you, is the one that's an actual teacher, because they are also worried about you, not just in class, but outside of class. They care about your motivation motivation inside of the lesson and outside of the lesson, because they want you to achieve well. And having that kind of support in the process of learning is the very key thing that makes a difference. I can tell you from my own personal life that the thing that made the difference between me having knowledge, okay, and not that I have a knowledge, but just, whatever knowledge I've gained, and not having any knowledge at all, the thing that really made a difference was the fact that I had teachers. I had people that were constantly guiding me, helping me, supporting me, seeking advice, developing my skills, holding me to account, teaching me, connecting me with other people. These are all things that I benefited from, that allowed me to really climb the ladder of, somewhat success and learning the things that I did. I want to mention to you guys an example of one of the things that a person benefits from a teacher, based upon a statement that I read from Ibn al-Qayyim. Because when I look at the stories of the scholars, every teacher is unique in the way that they are with their students. But the one of them that really, stands out for me is Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. Ibn Taymiyyah was unique in a very different manner compared to other teachers out there. And it's something that Ibn al-Qayyim said regarding his teacher that really had me reflecting, which is that a teacher doesn't just help you with the the practical things, but just the sheer motivation and support that a person feels by knowing that someone's there and helping them and holding their hands throughout this process is a completely different feeling altogether. Look at this statement. Ibn al-Qayyim talks about a particular time period when him and some of his peers were going through. And he says, وَكُنَّ إِذَا اشْتَدَّ بِنَا الْخَوْفِ. He said, if we were going through, severe fear, a lot of fear was coming onto us. وَسَاءَتْ مِنَّا الظُّنُونَ. And we started to have really, bad thoughts and bad assumptions, bad thoughts started to come to us. We were scared, all these bad thoughts are coming. وَضَاقَتْ بِنَا الْأَرْضِ. And it felt like the earth was just restricting us. Everything became so tight. He said, what would happen? Ataynahu. He said, we will come to him. We would go to Ibn Taymiyyah. We're sad, we're motivated, we're scared, we're worried about so many things. He said, when that would happen, we would go to our teacher. We would go to him. فَمَا هُوَ إِلَّا أَن نَرَاهُ وَنَسْمَعَ كَلَامَهُ. He said, when we would see him and we would hear his speech, we would look at him and we would hear him talk, what would happen? فَيَذْهَبَ ذَلِكَ كُلُّهُ. He said, all of that would go. All of those feelings that we had just from looking at our teacher and hearing him talk and the things that he said to us, all of those negative feelings, they just went away. He says, وَيَنْقَلَبَ إِنْشِرَاحًا وَقُوَّةً وَيَقِينًا وَطُمَأْنِينَةً. He said, when that happened, everything just changed. And we started to feel strength and we started to feel certainty and tranquility. All of that came about. Why? Because they had a teacher that when they felt down or they felt demotivated or they needed someone to help pull them up, they had a teacher to go back to. You have to remember, if you have peers and you're all doing the same thing at the same time, and everybody is feeling the same manner, they're feeling sad, demotivated, etc. Who's the one that's really going to pull them up? The likelihood is, if there is one student that's unique from them, that's really, motivated, what could happen is he could be, affected by the demotivation of everybody else, or the limitations of everybody else. But you have a teacher, someone that's outside of that spectrum, someone that knows what you're going through. He's been on this path, she's been on that path, he knows how it feels. And then you go to them, and they can help you and support you. And the examples and the concept of having a teacher is, in the world of Islamic knowledge, when we talk about having an alim, having a scholar, how the scholars are in comparison to the people and how they are as a light, as a guide for us. All of these hadith are all out there. But I just wanted to show to you is that, number one, should we have teachers? We should. And number two, what is that we benefit from teachers? These are all the things the thing you benefit from these teachers altogether is they help you going from A to Z or A to Z. They help you in that process. But now, having understood that we need teachers, and this is what teachers do. What's the problems with the teachers that we have? This is the third thing that I wanted to discuss, which is understanding what is a bad teacher and the problem that it carries. Now, let's break this down. There are people out there that put themselves in a position of teaching, and they are not capable of teaching because they don't have the knowledge. They don't have the knowledge. Now, that kind of person is very detrimental for anybody that wants to study something and you go on this journey with that individual. Because not only do they not know the information that they're trying to teach properly, which means that you could be led astray, but when you realize it can become very demotivating. And so sometimes we have people that teach us, or we find teachers in particular sciences or whatever it may be that you study, in this example, the Arabic language, and they are not equipped to give you this knowledge. They don't have the knowledge in the first place. Somebody that doesn't have something has nothing to give in the first place. And so that's one issue. The second thing is that you might have a teacher, somebody that has the knowledge. They've learned this. They tread this path. They took it. They learned the Arabic language. They gave their years and etc. But they are not teachers. They have knowledge, but they don't know how to teach. What do I mean by that? What I mean is there are some people that know how to study and benefit themselves. They know how to research and benefit themselves. They might even know how to research and write and compile and author that knowledge. But when it comes to interacting with a human being and teaching them this knowledge, that is a skill in and of itself. And not everybody that has knowledge knows how to teach. And so sometimes you might end up having a teacher that really does have the knowledge, but they just don't know how to teach you. For example, there are some people that have knowledge and they teach people, and they know that the individual that they're teaching is a beginner, but rather than teaching them the beginner stuff, the things that are for beginners, people that are right at the beginning, they end up teaching it in a complex manner by adding and connecting it to more complex issues. I'll give you guys a very simple example. If we look at the science of hadith, you have the book Al-Manzumat al-Bayquniyya, okay? Al-Bayquniyya, which is a poem. It's a very short poem which has basically been compiled and written, which defines some of the key terms that are used in the science of hadith. Now, this book is very, very little, and its purpose is meant to be just a little introduction, just to kind of get someone to really just, test the waters and, just really see how the science of hadith is about and its definitions and etc. But there are people out there that will teach you that as if you're studying Alfiyat al-Iraqi, which is 1,000 lines of poetry on the science of hadith. They'll bring in all these complex things that Iraqi mentions in his Alfiyah and puts it within the definitions that are being mentioned in Bayquniyya. You are basically teaching a beginner's book to people that are complete beginners in a complex manner. And that's not what a good teacher does. A good teacher knows how to teach a person from a beginner's level, and then to help them progress to an intermediate level, and then to take them up to an advanced level. If a teacher is unable to do that, then they don't have the skills to teach. And I find that many people, when they study Arabic, they get confused in the process because the teacher is not giving them the things that they need. They're making it more complex. Sometimes you might be advanced and the teacher is putting you down and is making you start from the beginner's level when you really don't need it. This is just misalignment when a person doesn't really know, and it really just comes from a lack of experience. The more you teach, the more students you deal with, the different types of students, the better you become at analyzing and knowing how to break complex concepts in a simple manner, and knowing what to teach a student and what not to teach a student, and how to basically raise them up. And so when you end up in these kind of problems, what happens? People, they don't learn the right things. They become overwhelmed. They become demotivated. They feel like they've been studying for so long and nothing's really happened. Years have gone by. They end up saying, perhaps maybe Arabic language isn't for me. And in the end, they leave it altogether. And these are the harms that a person faces by studying and learning from a teacher that is not really equipped and doesn't know either the knowledge or doesn't know how to teach the knowledge properly. So with that being said, we finally land on the final point, which is, if that's the case, that I need to have a teacher because the teacher brings me a certain amount of benefits and there are bad teachers out there, then what makes a good teacher? How do I know that X person or Y person is a good teacher? What are some of the qualities that I'm looking for? Again, this is a topic that the books of seeking knowledge and the manners of seeking knowledge talk about it in details. But I just want to mention to you 3 particular things that I believe are very important that you look for when you're trying to study with somebody, you want to learn with somebody. And that is, number 1, that you find somebody that is qualified and has some sort of expertise within this particular science, and obviously in context of the Arabic language. Now, that doesn't mean that the person needs to have a degree or needs an ijaza or certificates or anything like that. No. Rather, you just need to know that this person understands, they know this knowledge, they've studied it, they've gone through a period of learning it. This is something that they really have grasped, okay? And as long as you can determine that, as long as you know that this person has that knowledge, then this is, one box that you can tick and say, yes, I've got somebody that has the knowledge. The second thing you want to identify is, does this person know how to teach? Do they know how to teach? And that is obviously something that you assess based upon their style. You look at the way that a person teaches. Do they understand that this is a person who's a beginner? Do they understand that this person is an intermediate? Do they understand that this person comes from a particular, background and mindset? And so you might have to tailor your words and the way you teach in a particular manner. Does this person know how to support the students? All of these things are taken into consideration. If that person knows who's teaching, knows the knowledge, has the knowledge, and even knows how to teach the knowledge, then that's the second thing that you're ticking off as well in the box, which is, hey, this seems to be a good teacher. The third thing, and this is by and large one of the most important things, and I honestly believe that in everything that you study, if you can make this a pinnacle condition, I believe you'll find a lot of success in life, which is that the person that you're studying from is a person upon the Quran and the Sunnah, is a person that believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, believes in the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, has iman, is upon the aqidat salaf, follows the Quran, follows the Sunnah. Why? Because of the fact that what they're teaching you, which is here the Arabic language. And the Arabic language is something that helps you understand the Quran, helps you get closer to the Quran. And so if you're learning from somebody that doesn't really follow the Quran and Sunnah, what could happen is, number 1, you may not learn the Arabic language the way it's supposed to be taught, because some people that have different beliefs and different mindsets, and I give an example, an Orientalist, somebody that doesn't believe in religion or doesn't believe in Islam, they are atheist or agnostic, whatever it may be, but they study these things like the Arabic language, and then they try to study the Quran, and then they teach it in universities as professors. They don't do it from the angle of enriching the Muslims about Islam. That's not what they do. They do it to show to you, hey, there's contradiction in the Quran. I've studied the Arabic language. I'm a professor in the Arabic language, and I know that these words and etc. show to us that the Quran has been changed and this, that, and etc. And they start to throw doubts inside of people. An example is like SOAS University, right? SOAS University, some of the professors that I've taught there previously over the last few decades have shown this particular mindset, and of course anybody else of that standard that learns the Arabic language and then teaches it to other people. So for you, it's important you find somebody that's upon the Quran and Sunnah. Why? Because if a person's iman is correct and that person is mukhlis, sincere in what they're doing, then them, when they are teaching you, there is greater chances that you will be able to benefit from their knowledge altogether. That knowledge will go from one mukhlis to another mukhlis. It will go from one sincere person to another sincere person. And this is something that the scholars, they all talk about in the books of mannerisms for a teacher. How a teacher should be is that they should follow the Quran and Sunnah. They should have a pure heart. They should have ikhlas in what they do, because that is a reason for the knowledge that you're trying to pass on to people, especially when it's Shari'i knowledge, is knowledge related to the Sharia, for it to enter inside of them. And so if a person can bring these 3 conditions together in a teacher, which is somebody that knows what they're talking about and they know how to teach it and they are upon the Quran and Sunnah, then that is the kind of person that you want to study and learn from. And so, my brothers and sisters, having a teacher, having the right teacher is exactly the thing that's going to make the difference between you not knowing the language and you learning the Arabic language and eventually mastering it. Before I go, inshallah ta'ala, my brothers and sisters, as I mentioned to you, I'm on a mission to teach people and to help 1,000 Muslims master the Arabic language so that they can connect themselves to the Islamic knowledge which is out there and for them to pass it on to others. We have officially launched the Arabic Code Academy, which is our online institute where our aim and our goal is to teach you the Arabic language from zero to mastery, for you to learn the letters, for you to learn how to speak, read, write, listen, for you to communicate with people, for you to understand the Quran, for you to read Islamic literature, to teach you how to speak to scholars and communicate with them, to teach you how to make dua to Allah in the Arabic language properly. All in all, for you to really master the Arabic language as much as possible so that you can access Islamic knowledge. So you can be a person that when you want to learn something, you can't say to yourself, I don't know Arabic, how am I supposed to see this? You can simply read a book, you can listen to a lecture online, you can call a scholar and speak to them. There are so many doors that open for you. If you want to be part of the Arabic Code Academy, you can click the link in the bio and you can book a call with one of our team members and speak to them and see if this program would be good for you. I really want the Muslims to regain their identity of the Arabic language. The thing that makes us Muslims is also the Arabic language, because the Quran is in Arabic, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is in Arabic. And if we as a ummah, we don't know the Arabic language, then we're always going to be further away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah bless you all. And I hope to see you inshallah ta'ala in another video. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.